There are people who felt different their entire lives. Not just in small ways, not just occasionally, but deeply fundamentally different from everyone around them. They're the ones who never quite fit in at school, who feel like an outsider at family gatherings, who sit in a room full of people and still feel completely alone, who watch others connect effortlessly and wonder what's wrong with them. They've heard it their whole lives. You're too sensitive. You think too much. You're too intense. Why can't you just be normal? You're so weird. And they've spent years trying to figure out if something's broken inside them, trying to blend in, trying to be like everyone else, exhausting themselves trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for them. But here's what nobody tells you. Feeling different from everyone else isn't a flaw. It's not something that needs to be fixed. And you're not as alone as you think you are. So today, we're going deep. We're exploring what it actually means when you feel fundamentally different from everyone around you. And by the end of this video, you'll understand not just why you feel this way, but what to do with it. Let's go deeper. First, let's talk about what this actually feels like. Because feeling different isn't just a casual observation. It's a deep, persistent sense that you're operating on a different frequency than everyone else. It's being at a party where everyone's laughing and connecting, and you're analyzing why the conversation feels superficial. It's your coworkers bonding over things you can't relate to, and you're wondering if you're missing some social instruction manual everyone else received. It's watching people care deeply about things that feel meaningless to you, and caring deeply about things that seem to bore everyone else. It's having thoughts and feelings that are too complex, too intense, too different to share without seeing confusion or discomfort in people's eyes. You learned early to edit yourself, to dim your light, to pretend you understood references you didn't, to laugh at jokes that weren't funny, to nod along to conversations that felt empty, because standing out felt dangerous. And here's the exhausting part. You can perform fitting in. You've learned how. You can mirror social behaviors, say the right things, play the part. But it costs you. Every interaction requires translation. Every social situation drains your battery. And even when you're surrounded by people, you feel fundamentally alone. This isn't occasional introversion. This isn't just being shy. This is a core sense that you're a different species trying to navigate a world built for everyone else. And if this resonates with you, I want you to understand something crucial. The fact that you feel this way doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you're picking up on something real. You are different. But different doesn't mean defective. Now let's explore why some people feel this way. Because once you understand the source, everything shifts. Some people are neurologically different. And I'm not just talking about diagnosed conditions, though that's part of it. I'm talking about the way your brain processes information, experiences emotions, and perceives the world. Maybe you're highly gifted. High intelligence creates isolation because you see patterns, connections, and complexities that others don't notice. Conversations feel surface level because your mind operates several layers deeper. And you learned early that sharing those deeper thoughts makes people uncomfortable or makes you seem like you're showing off. Maybe you're neurodivergent. ADHD, autism, dyslexia, or other forms of neurodivergence mean your brain literally processes differently. Social rules that feel intuitive to others feel like a foreign language you're constantly translating. You miss cues. You overshare or undershare. You're either too much or not enough, and you can never quite figure out the right balance. Maybe you're a highly sensitive person. Your nervous system processes stimuli more deeply. You feel emotions more intensely. You notice subtleties others miss. And this depth of processing makes you feel different because you're experiencing a richer, more complex version of reality than most people around you. Here's what this means. If you're wired differently, you're not broken. You're not failing at being human. You're just running a different operating system, and the world was built for the default one. Sometimes feeling different isn't about neurology. It's about what you value. And when your values don't match the dominant culture around you, you feel like an alien. Maybe everyone around you values material success, and you value meaning and purpose. Maybe they value conformity and fitting in, and you value authenticity and truth. Maybe they value comfort and security, and you value growth and experience. When your values are misaligned with your environment, every conversation confirms you're different. They're excited about things you find hollow. You're passionate about things they find weird or impractical. And there's no bridge between these worlds. This happens a lot with creative people in corporate environments, spiritual people in materialistic cultures, introverted people in extroverted dominated spaces, intellectuals and anti-intellectual communities. You're not defective. You're just surrounded by people playing a different game than you are. And trying to fit into their game means abandoning your own values, which creates that persistent feeling of being wrong or broken. Sometimes you feel different because you became different. Something happened that fundamentally altered how you see the world, and now you can't go back. Maybe you experienced trauma that others haven't, and now you see danger where they see safety. You see fragility where they see permanence. You carry knowledge about how quickly everything can fall apart, and that knowledge separates you. Maybe you went through a period of intense growth or transformation. You did deep therapeutic work. You had a spiritual awakening. You survived something that changed your entire perspective. And now you're operating from a completely different paradigm than the people who haven't been through that. Maybe you've lived in multiple cultures or communities, and now you see the relativity of everything. You can't take your birth culture's norms as absolute truth anymore. You see multiple perspectives simultaneously. And this makes you feel like you don't fully belong anywhere. When you've been changed by experience, you can't relate to people who haven't been changed in the same way. It's not superiority, it's just difference. You've seen behind the curtain, and you can't pretend you haven't. Some people just feel old, even when they're young, like they've been here before, like they carry wisdom or weariness that doesn't match their age. Maybe you were raised by adults and never really had a childhood, so you never related to kids your age. Maybe you were the therapist for your family, so you developed emotional intelligence far beyond your years. Maybe you're just naturally introspective, philosophical, and serious in a world that values youth and lightness. Old souls feel different because they're drawn to depth in a culture that celebrates surface. They want meaningful conversations about existence, purpose, and truth. And everyone else wants to talk about the weather, sports, and what they watched on Netflix. This isn't pretension. It's a genuine mismatch between who you are and the predominant energy of your generation or culture, and it creates profound loneliness. And then there's the simplest explanation. You feel different because you are different. You're a statistical outlier. A rare combination of traits, interests, and characteristics that just don't overlap much with the general population. Maybe you're an introverted leader, a logical creative, a sensitive realist, a spiritual scientist. Whatever combination of traits you carry is just uncommon enough that finding people like you is difficult. It's not that you're better, it's that you're rare, like being left-handed in a right-handed world. There's nothing wrong with being left-handed, but everything is designed for righties, and you feel that difference constantly. When you're rare, the odds of randomly finding your people are low, which means most of your life, you're surrounded by people who are wonderful, just not your people. And that creates a persistent feeling of being different. Now let's talk about what this does to you over time. Because feeling different your whole life comes with consequences. First, you develop a mask, a version of yourself that's acceptable, palatable, normal enough to get by. You learn to code switch, to perform normalcy, to hide the parts of you that make others uncomfortable. And the mask works. People accept the masked version. They might even like it, but you know it's not real. And every interaction where you're wearing the mask reinforces the belief that the real you isn't acceptable. Over time, the mask becomes so automatic you forget you're wearing it. You lose touch with who you actually are underneath. And this creates a specific kind of loneliness, being surrounded by people who like you, but knowing they don't actually know you. Second, you start doubting yourself. You internalize the message that you're wrong, too much, not enough, weird, broken. You spend years wondering if everyone else is right and you're the problem. Maybe you've been diagnosed with things, social anxiety, depression, personality disorders. And while those diagnoses might be accurate, sometimes they're just describing the symptoms of being different in a world that demands conformity. You're not necessarily disordered. You might just be a healthy, unusual person in an environment that can't accommodate you. But when everyone keeps telling you something's wrong with you, you start to believe it. And third, there's the loneliness. Not the loneliness of being physically alone. The loneliness of being known but not understood. Of having people in your life who care about you, but can't actually connect with who you are at your core. This is the loneliest kind of loneliness. Because you can't solve it by being around more people. Being around people who don't get you just makes it worse. You can be in a relationship, have friends, be surrounded by family, and still feel completely alone. Because what you're craving isn't presence, it's resonance, recognition, someone who looks at you and goes, "Oh, you're one of us." And when you felt different your whole life, those moments are rare enough to feel almost mythical. So now that we understand what's happening, let's talk about what to do with it, because you have choices here. First, you need to stop trying to fix yourself. Stop trying to become normal. Stop trying to fit into spaces that weren't designed for you. This doesn't mean being difficult or antisocial. It means accepting that your shape is different, and that's okay. Stop trying to sand down your edges to fit into round holes. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop editing yourself into a version you think others will accept. Here's what happens when you stop trying to fit in. You stop wasting energy on performance. You stop betraying yourself. And paradoxically, you become more attractive to the right people. Because authenticity, even weird authenticity, is magnetic. Second, you need to actively seek out your people. And here's the truth. They're not in the default places. They're not at the standard social events. They're not in the mainstream spaces. Your people are in niche communities, online forums, specialized interest groups, unconventional gatherings, places where depth is valued, where weird is normal, where different is the baseline. You need to be intentional about this. You're not going to randomly bump into your people at the grocery store. You need to go where people like you congregate. And yes, this might mean online communities. Virtual connection is still real connection. When you find even one person who truly gets you, everything changes. Suddenly you have proof that you're not alone, that your way of being is valid, that community exists for you, you just haven't found all of it yet. Third, you need to change your relationship with being different. Because right now, you probably see it as a burden, a problem, something that makes your life harder. And yes, it does make some things harder, but it also gives you gifts. Your different perspective is valuable. Your ability to see what others miss is powerful. Your depth, your sensitivity, your unique way of processing, these are strengths, not weaknesses. The world needs people who think differently, who ask questions, who don't accept the default answers, who see possibilities others can't imagine. Your difference is your contribution. Stop seeing yourself as broken. Start seeing yourself as rare, and rarity has value. Fourth, design your life around who you actually are, not who you think you should be. Stop trying to force yourself into conventional structures. Create something custom. Maybe that means unconventional work, freelancing, remote work, creative careers, anything that doesn't require you to perform normalcy 8 hours a day. Maybe that means unconventional relationships, chosen family over blood family, deep friendships over surface-level social circles, quality over quantity in all your connections. Maybe that means unconventional living, minimalism, nomadic life, living somewhere that matches your values instead of where you're supposed to be. You're allowed to build a life that actually works for who you are. You don't have to follow the script everyone else is following. In fact, if you're fundamentally different, following their script will make you miserable. Create your own path. It'll be lonely at first, but it'll be authentically yours. And that's worth more than comfortable conformity. Here's what I want you to understand. Every single person who changed the world, who created something meaningful, who made a real impact, felt different, felt like an outsider, felt like they didn't belong. Artists, inventors, philosophers, activists, entrepreneurs, scientists. They all had this experience of not fitting in, of seeing the world differently, of being told they were wrong, weird, too much, not enough. And their differentness wasn't a bug. It was the feature. It was the source of their contribution. You're not supposed to fit in. You're supposed to offer something that only someone standing outside can see. Your outside perspective is your gift. But here's the hard part. You have to be willing to stand in that difference, to stop running from it, to stop trying to fix it, to accept that yes, you're different, and that means some things will be harder for you, and some doors won't open, and some people won't understand you. And in exchange for accepting that difficulty, you get something most people never find. You get to be yourself. Fully, without apology, without performance, without betraying who you are to make others comfortable. Most people spend their whole lives trying to be accepted. You get to spend your life being real. And that trade-off, as lonely as it sometimes feels, is worth it. If you feel different from everyone else, I want you to hear this. You're not broken. You're not wrong. You're not too much or not enough. You're just different. And different is not a diagnosis to be cured. It's a reality to be accepted and leveraged. Stop waiting for permission to be yourself. Stop waiting to fit in. Stop waiting for the world to make space for you. Make your own space. Find your own people. Build your own life. You will feel lonely sometimes, that's real. But you'll also feel free. Free from performance, free from pretending, free from betraying yourself to earn acceptance from people who can't understand you anyway. And one day, you'll meet someone who looks at you and just gets you, without explanation, without translation, and you'll realize, I'm not alone, I never was, I was just looking in the wrong places. Your people exist, your community exists, your place in the world exists. You just have to stop trying to force yourself into spaces you've outgrown and start building towards spaces that actually fit who you are. Drop your country or city in the comments. Let's see where all the different ones are watching from. Hit subscribe. We go deeper every day. And remember, the world doesn't need another copy. It needs the original you. So stop editing yourself and start being yourself. That's where your power lives.